Howdy everybody, me Keith, Elder Rock, back on the bench with another video. And just like the last video, I'm excited about this one because we are previewing of Frankencade board. So this is the Frankencade RGB board that lets you modify about any CRT into an arcade monitor by adjusting voltages. So without further ado, let's get over on the bench and check out this cool board. Okay, so let's get down here and we'll get busy talking about Frankencade's RGB board, RGB amplifier board. Okay, so some things, disclaimers right up front. I had Steve over at Frankencade send me 3 of these. So we got one hooked up over on the bench and I have 2 built out. And these are actually turning into prototypes. So this particular version that we're looking at today, this is just a prototype. The next revision is going to really just have lots more surface mounted stuff. Okay, so let's talk about the hardware before we talk about the next revision. Okay, so what we have here is a RGB amplifier board. I think about it like a 3-channel amplifier, a separate red, green, blue amplifier. So basically what it does is going to amplify your raw signal from your source, be it your arcade PCB or really any other RGB sync signal that you have. I think this thing will work as far as getting it on your monitor, and it will output, here's your output on this side, and it will output your modified signal, your amplified signal here. So I've been playing with this for about a week because I wanted to make a good video, and all I can say is that this is a pretty amazing amplifier because of all of the adjustment capabilities that you have. Okay, so before we go into the adjustment, we have a whole section on adjustment. This particular one, and the 3 that I built, I outfitted with a buck converter. Now this is I think a 4 to 32 volt step down converter, and it works really well. So how we're powering this thing, you'll see over on the real one when we get over to the real one. You have your power in. You have your power in on your buck converter. Then you have I have this one on upside down. Never mind me. You have your power in and you have your power out. Now your power out is going to feed directly into the power, to the J1 power input of the audio amplifier. So you'll see in a minute when we go to adjust your video output is going to be dependent on your voltage on your input. It's not linear, it's non-linear. So when you adjust your voltage here, you're going to adjust your voltage on your output, and then you will have these 3 1K trim pots to kind of fine tune it. But we're going to get into that in a bit. So basically for an RGB mod into a consumer set, I thought this would be nice because you'll see over on the test setup, I'm actually grabbing 5 volts in, and I have the buck converter output set to a nominal 4 volts, which for this set is nominal. I think the voltages are going to vary set to set or monitor to monitor, but you'll see when we get over to the adjustment why I'm at 4 volts. Because 5 volts is easy to grab from your consumer set or a switcher or pretty easy. And I think 4 volts powering this board and having the right adjustment, I call it the throw of adjustment, because we're turned way down. I have the flyback, contrast turned down, the input is at a right voltage, and we have plenty of adjustment with red, green, and blue before any raster lines start to appear. So let's get over and I'll show you. Now I'm going to take you a little tour of our of our test setup for this preview, kind of what we have going on. Okay, so here we have our test subject, our board, our UUT actually under power. So right now we're powered on. We're powered on this UUT, on this amplifier board. So I have my oscilloscope connected onto the output. Onto the output voltage. And let me move this so you can see the inputs, what I have going on. So the inputs I actually have from two different sources that we're going to demonstrate. In the background here is a Pac-Man, Bally Midway Pac-Man board. And we're taking the RGB and sync right off the board, right into the inputs for one part of the demo. And then over here, you can see we have, this is the first I've ever mentioned this on my channel. But this is a RGB to Pi. Yes, it's a multi-game sort of system. We're stepping away from the classic part, but I don't mind. This is a pretty good emulator, the RGB Pi. We're going to look at some different games on that thing and look at the colors and adjustment. And sitting on top is a Neo Geo 1 slot. It's turned around. So we're going to hit all of those as a test signal. And so what I have going on is this basically clipped right on to the inputs. And if you look, the input, if you zoom up here, keep zooming, I don't have a header. I have these soldered directly in, kind of under that buck converter, and I have them strain relieved on a standoff there. So very nice, clean package. I got these boards from Steve from Frankencade, and I kind of kitted them. I made it kind of into an installation kit. But I only have 3 of these, and these will be the last ones. So I don't know if I'm really going to sell these or not. I may just keep these for myself. But that's what we have going on. And, of course, we have our outputs. Now let's go over to... I'll show you what we got going on here with the outputs. So the output, following the mess around here, basically I have the outputs. Coming in, and I made a harness that connects the RGB and ground right to the neck board. So let me get because we are powered on. So keep that in mind. So this is one major thing to know about this RGB amplifier. It bypasses any OSD or any video processing you have on a consumer set. Your audio, your OSD, and your any other compositor or input will be lost if you use this. Now, that's not necessarily true. You can use a 3 or 4 pole switch if you want to keep your component. So let's just drop down here and I'll show you. Yeah, go down. Yeah. So we have our component in, and we have a stereo. We have a stereo right and left, and a mono. And I modified I modified this terminal block. Then we have blue, red, or green, red, green, blue. So that's how I'm doing this mod. This this consumer grade CRT mod. So we're wired directly in. I wanted to show you that before we spun the TV around. The RCAs that you see here are not actually connected because we're connected directly to our inputs, our input side of that. So I think that's about it. So let's get this TV spun around, and we'll start looking at some images and some voltages. Okay, got the TV spun around. I thought I would do a power on with you. So we're on the Pi to JAMA, and we're just gonna boot up into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And so we're working with a like a early 90s Samsung flat screen. So my initial testing, like it doesn't take great video, so but it does look fantastic here in real life. Actually, it's not bad right at the moment. So we have a great image. I mean, the flat screen makes such a smooth image. It's almost too smooth. If I could shut off the light, I mean, man, it's really, really a great picture. All the red, greens, and blues. Yeah, the video just doesn't do it justice. That blue is so great and spot on. Okay, so let's get back to it. Okay, we're on actually part 5 of my script already. Okay, so let's talk about adjustment on this. So now what I want to do, I want to bring you guys over to the scope and start looking at the power and explaining kind of how the power works with this thing. So right now, okay, let's look at the scope. And we're just going to go through the power. Okay, so so let's look at the 5 volts. You can see max voltage. This is the 5 volts from the chassis. Now let's look at the other side of that buck converter. So we're at 2 volts per division. So we're at 1, 2, 3, 4 volts, as you can see here. So I think I've played with this thing all week, and I think 4 volts here for this set is spot on. So we're at 4 volts for power. That's the actual power of the board. That's the actual power of the board. So now what we're going to do, we are going. Let's look at the power on some of these inputs. At least a couple of them, so you can kind of see what the amplifier is doing. Okay, so let me get this thing kind of adjusted and focused. Okay, so let's look at this signal. So this is a raw, we're on red. This is a video red signal. And you can see that it starts off here. I mean, I look at the bottom. I'm going to reference everything from the bottom voltage. So we have 0 volts to almost 4 volt signal. So 0 to 4 at 0. So we could go through the red, green, and blue, but they would all look the same primarily. So let's jump over, keep that in mind, and let me clip on to red on the output. Look at that, a lot different of a signal. So this is the signal that is actually feeding the neck board. So we have our bottom voltage pretty much like at 2 volts, and our upper limit is still around 4 volts, but it's more like a 1 volt or 2 volt, like a 2 volt peak to peak versus the other one, which was like 4 volts on the raw input voltage. So I have my cursors set, as you could see, because I used those to adjust when I was adjusting. So I wanted to make sure I got each channel or each color within the same voltage. So let's go, there's red, let's do green. I'm going to get on green with the camera in the way, it's great. Okay, so there's green, same thing, between 2 and 4 volts we have our signal. Okay, and let's do blue. And there is blue. Blue, you're my boy. So there's blue. And kind of depending, we're on like in a track screen on the game, on the Turtles, so once the game runs, we'll see a lot more activity on blue. Like, there we go. Now it's actually gameplay. Okay, so there we go with the voltages, how this initial one looks. So let's take a look at the Turtles again. Oh yeah, now we're getting the weird line. Yeah, it just shadows so bad on that flat screen. It's my first flat screen. Does not take good video. But that looks good. Yeah, April looks pretty good. Okay, so now what I want to do with you guys, let's see if, I think what we might do, I want to show you the correlation between the voltage and the image. So I think what I'm going to do, let's see if you can see this line. We're going to go back. Oh, actually, we're going to stay on blue. We're going to stay on blue, and I'm going to adjust the main power on the buck converter. We're going to turn that down, and I'm going to show you how it affects the output. Now, this is a prototype board, but in the real version that's coming, it's gonna be the same. It's gonna be the same type of adjustment and the same type of correlation because of the JFET circuitry. So, let's slowly adjust and get on this. Okay. So I'm turning down the voltage. I'm turning down the voltage on the buck converter, and you can see that signal coming low, right? So since we turned down the voltage, it in turn turned down all red, green, blue, and you can see we have a much dimmer screen. So I'm going to keep you on screen while we turn that back up. And I'm just going to watch over here on my scope because I already know what the voltage is supposed to be. And boom, right back to a nice picture, and right back to where we need to be to keep that nice signal. So again, let's do this. Now let's go back over to the screen here. Let me get on like red, for example. And here, shut that light off. Here, kill that light. And I'm gonna turn this guy. I'm gonna turn red. Let's see. Let me get on red. Actually, I'm gonna clip on red. I'm gonna turn him up until we see some raster going on right there. Now we're red pretty. See the raster lines? Because I'm adjusting that 1K pot. So let me turn it back down. Actually, I'm gonna keep it up so you can see the raster lines now. Okay, yep, zoom back in on that and you can see, zoom up a little bit on that, yeah. So you can see we're about almost a volt high. We're almost a volt high, and yeah, we're almost a volt high, and you can tell the red is washing. See the red raster lines? Okay, so now, yeah, you can see we're about a half volt high just by looking at the cursors or looking at the math. So let's turn that guy back down. I'm gonna go back on red. Now we're gonna bring him down. I don't know if I can get on him. Oh, come on. Okay. So look at red coming back down. We're gonna get him back in our limits. Our lower limit is gonna be like right at 2 volts, where we want the lower part of our video signal. So now if you go back over and check out our screen, everything looks good. Yeah, in real life it's even better. The flat screens, I don't know, they don't take great videos. So that's a little bit of an introduction to the adjustments of how. Let me turn that guy back on. Just to give you some idea of the power the powerful adjustment that you have for fine-tuning your screen with this guy. So you have your power, your main power, then you have your 1K pods, and then of course you have your contrast on your flyback. So I was able to turn my flyback on this consumer set way down to where it was when I got it and took it apart for the first time. And I think turning your flyback down, like, you want that adjustment. You don't want everything maxed out, because, you know, as the tube gets weak, you want to be able to turn up your contrast and your colors. And that's true. I think that's truly the beauty of this thing, is that you are driving the neck board completely. You are setting all the voltage levels for how you want to see with whatever, call it whatever state or condition that your tube is in that you're modding. You might be modding one with a weaker tube or with a stronger tube. And I think the voltages are going to be just a little different, but I would start right where I have this one adjusted for your individual set and go there. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the real one that's coming. So this is just a prototype. So this is that's Turtle. So we're gonna show it off a little bit more. Let me kill that light. And I think at this point we're just gonna look at some different games. So we saw the Turtles. Let's go to another game. Okay, let's look at one of my favorite games and most colorful games. Let's look at Sunset Riders. Yeah, this just looks beautiful. Sunset Riders is like one of my favorite games. I love Westerns, plus it's so colorful. I do have a dedicated cabinet at home. My Sunset Riders is actually in a gauntlet cab, and it works. It's nice 4-player, nice big screen. But look at the colors. I mean, that is just fantastic. And again, I think it's just it's all the adjustments that you have between those 1K pods and your power. That's why I like that buck converter on there. Really adds a whole nother dimension to your adjustment, your red, green, blue. So if you had a TV, if you had a set with weak blue, it won't rejuvenate, this would be a perfect solution, to get more life out of an aging CRT. Just beautiful. Okay, let's look at a different one. Okay, let's take a look at another favorite of manufacturer of mine. I just love, you already know what it is. It's a Williams game. But I totally love Williams games because they're so, they're just fun. And the colors are so fun. You have, the reds, the blacks, the blues. This is actually a good game. I don't have a test pattern generator here. But this is actually a really fun game. A good game to adjust your amplifier to. I actually see a little bit of rastering in there. So let's I don't think you can see it on the video. But I'm going to turn that down. I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. Can you shut that back off? Yeah, this is hard. I wish I had a test pattern generator. There we go. I just needed to go down just a little bit. Okay. Okay, so again, another one of my favorite games. Yeah, so I just saw a little rastering on that with the lights off. But man, that black is black, the red is red. Looks so good. Let's, I think we're actually going to coin up. Let's coin up and play a little bit. Just a little. Boop. Oh, he got me. Yeah. Just a good looking amp, that signal looks awesome. That signal looks awesome. All right, I'm not even going to try to play because this isn't about playing. Okay, so, you know, one thing about previewing and testing equipment is giving it like the full gambit of tests. So I wanted to test this thing with as many input signals as I can. That's why I got like the Trinity kind of sitting here. Because not all, we didn't talk about sync too much, because I don't think sync is a problem. It's not getting amplified, and this is gonna, on an RGB, this is gonna feed either right into the sync on your arcade chassis, or on a consumer set is gonna feed through your composite. It's gonna feed through your composite circuitry. So not much to do with the sync, and I already covered sync in another video. So let's get set up and let's look at the Neo Geo. I think what we're going to do, we're going to come like this so we can see the scope, we can see the voltages and everything, and we can kind of compare it to what we see on screen. So let's get the Neo Geo hooked up. Okay, here we go with the Neo Geo. I'm just going to shut off the light. I think it's easier to see the scope. And I want you guys to see how nice this Neo Geo track screen looks. If you know anything about Neo Geos, you got a bright white and a black. So right off the bat, you know if things are kind of colored correctly. And, you know, in Hudson Soft Games, you got the yellow and black B. So this is like some fighting game. Man, this one looks freaking awesome too. Red is red, green is green, blue is blue. Just looks fantastic. Nice and bright. And again, the power of adjustment. We are turned down. We are turned down so low on everything. We have power still. We have contrast in the flyback, and we still have a lot of throw on the. Yeah, look at that. It looks so good. So I wanted to show you, because I've worked on a lot of arcade games, and I can say that you're going to see, you know, different signals do vary, different boards, different manufacturers, but I haven't adjusted anything. And look at that how good. I think we're on red. Yeah, we're still on red. Red is right between our limits of where we set. And I really didn't go in deep detail about what I learned about adjusting these things. I think I got all the main points out. But, you know, if you turn that up, you know, you're a ways, you're going to start seeing raster lines. How I have this thing set, you have to turn those pots quite a bit. We are way below kind of any threshold. So we have a different board. Let's look at red. We'll just go through the colors. There's green right in between, and here is blue. Blue, same way. So we're still adjusted pretty darn well. And let's go back. Let's look at this just a little longer here, just a little bit. Looks so good. Okay, so that is the Neo Geo. That's the Neo Geo 1 slot, MVS 1 slot. Now, let's turn on the light. Let's go over, and now we're going to do the Pac-Man. Okay, getting ready to power up with the Pac-Man board. So I have this guy actually going to be powered off my bench power supply. So let's power up the Pac. Bam. We'll come back to the scope in a minute. The horizontal and vertical hold, I think is wonky on the TV. You can see we're clipped a little bit there on the top, or be the top. It's actually a Miss Pac-Man boot, but it looks great. It looks great. Yellow, there's blue, there's some red, green. Yes. Just fantastic. Okay, so let's go over to the scope. And you can see after, you know, after taking the raw signal in, the output signal is still between our cursors. So I think I think those cursors are set for about 2 volts. You know, I'm working off the bottom voltage, so it's still about a 2 volt peak to peak signal, about 2 volts to the bottom. I could run you through the signals again, but they all look the same. So keep your eyes open for the Frankencade RGB Amplifier. It's on his webpage. I'm not trying to get too fancy. RGB Amplifier. There's the boards that we have. And it's a cost reduction thing. I had a few conversations with Steve about this. So these JFETs are not cheap. I mean, I'm living in Thailand, and for one, these J175s, 3 of them, I couldn't hardly find them here. And if you can't find them in Bangkok, at the electronics market, you're going to have a really hard time finding real ones. And then the what are those, 310s? They're expensive. I think I had, like, even in Thailand, these were kind of expensive. Then you have some 1 microfarad caps. So the new revision, you can expect to see these surface mounted. It's going to be a cost reduction thing. All the caps surface mounted. I think the trim pods surface mounted. And I'm not sure about the headers. And I think the next revision is going to have an attached audio amp. That would make my life so much easier when I do RGB mods that bypass the chassis functions, you know, having like a 10-watt audio amp stereo, and then you're done. Then you're done. And you just hook up you bypass your audio, your video. Again, you can use a 3 or 4 pole switch and keep your component if your set is nice enough. This set, I don't really care about. It has one composite input, and what else? There's something else wrong with this TV. I think the audio doesn't work at all with this TV. So, not a big loss on this guy, but it is a nice flat panel. That'll be the next video. So anyway, guys, check out Steve's webpage over at Frankencade. If I can zoom up, Frankencade.com. Look at his shops, and you know he is a current developer. So you want to see features, have any input, definitely for the nature of this video, let me know what you guys think about this down below. Is this something that you'd be interested in, or that would fix some of your problems? Any other features? Definitely ask me some questions about the voltage. We kind of go through that again more in depth. So I think I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. So here in Thailand, it's the King's birthday today, so I'm rocking my yellow shirt. Long live the King, and long live arcades. I'll see you guys next time.